Breaking point tragedy strikes Israeli diplomatic post. The news broke like a clap of thunder on an otherwise calm Washington, D.C. afternoon. An Israeli embassy staff member shot. The words themselves felt unreal, a chilling echo from a more volatile, distant land now reverberating through the streets of the American capital. Disbelief was the first reaction, then a sickening wave of confirmation. This was not a drill. This was not a mistaken report. A life dedicated to diplomatic service had been violently targeted. The city, a hub of global power and dialogue, held its breath, confronted by an act of brutality that struck at the very heart of international relations. The normality of the day shattered in an instant. Initial reports were frantic, piecemeal. Whispers of a disturbance, then the unmistakable sound of sirens piercing the air. Law enforcement vehicles converged on the embassy compound, their flashing lights painting a grim tableau against the stately architecture. News crews scrambled, desperate for information, for clarity amidst the chaos. Was it a lone attacker? Was this part of a larger, coordinated assault? These questions hung heavy, unanswered in the immediate aftermath. The embassy, usually a symbol of connection and diplomacy, became a focal point of fear and urgent investigation. The sense of violation was palpable, extending far beyond the physical confines of the embassy walls. The scene quickly transformed into one of high alert. Security perimeters were established, locking down the surrounding area. Heavily armed officers, their faces grim and determined, patrolled the streets. The immediate priority was clear: secure the location, tend to the victim, and apprehend any threat. For those inside the embassy, the experience must have been terrifying. The sanctity of their diplomatic mission, a place meant to foster understanding, had been breached in the most violent way imaginable. The routine of diplomatic life, abruptly and horrifically interrupted. The shockwaves began to spread outwards, first through Washington, then across the nation, and finally around the globe. This was not just an attack on an individual, it was an assault on a symbol. An attack on the sovereign territory of Israel represented by its embassy. An attack on the very principles of diplomatic immunity and the peaceful conduct of relations between nations. The Israeli government, a close ally of the United States, would undoubtedly view this incident with the utmost gravity. The implications were potentially far-reaching, threatening to cast a dark shadow over international affairs. The world watched, waiting for answers, waiting to understand how such a tragedy could occur on American soil, against a key diplomatic mission. The questions began to mount, demanding urgent responses. The unfolding horror, an assault on sovereign ground. Details of the shooting began to emerge, painting a harrowing picture of the final moments of the embassy staffer's life. It happened with shocking speed. The staff member, whose identity is being withheld pending notification of family, was reportedly approaching the embassy entrance. A routine act, performed countless times before. Then, the unthinkable. A figure, emerging from the everyday anonymity of the street, produced a weapon. Shots rang out, sharp and brutal, shattering the diplomatic calm. The victim fell. The attacker, a lone male, attempted to flee the scene, but the embassy's own security, alongside swift-acting local law enforcement, were on him in moments. The suspect was quickly subdued, his attempt to escape thwarted by a robust security presence that is, unfortunately, a necessity for many diplomatic missions around the world. He was taken into custody, his identity and motives becoming the immediate focus of an intense investigation. Who was he? Why did he choose this target, this individual, this embassy? Was he acting alone, or was he part of a wider network, a pawn in a larger, more sinister game? These are the urgent questions investigators are now grappling with. The weapon, recovered at the scene, will be a key piece of evidence in piecing together this senseless act of violence. Eyewitnesses, though few, spoke of the sudden chaos. A normal DC street, moments before a scene of unimaginable violence. One local worker on a lunch break nearby described hearing pops, initially mistaking them for car backfires. Then, the screams, the sight of people running, the immediate, overwhelming sense of panic. The rapid response of security personnel was also noted, a testament to their training and readiness for such an eventuality, however unwelcome. Yet despite their bravery and efficiency, a life was tragically lost. A stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who serve their countries abroad, even in supposedly safe havens. The victim, an individual who had dedicated their career to fostering ties between nations, became a casualty in a conflict that, in that moment, felt terrifyingly close. the diplomatic community in Washington, a tight-knit group, reeled from the news. This attack was not just on a colleague from another nation, it was an attack on one of their own, a chilling reminder of the vulnerabilities they all share. The psychological impact on the staff at the Israeli embassy, and indeed at all embassies, will be profound. The sense of security so vital for their work has been deeply shaken, replaced by a grief and an unease that will linger. A beacon of diplomacy, the embassy's significance. An embassy is more than just a building, it is a sovereign outpost, a piece of its home nation transplanted onto foreign soil. The Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. stands as a critical hub for the multifaceted relationship between Israel and the United States. It is the primary channel for diplomatic communication, a place where policies are discussed, treaties are negotiated, and alliances are strengthened. Its staff, from the ambassador down to the most junior attaché, work tirelessly to manage this vital bilateral connection, one that spans security cooperation, economic ties, and cultural exchange. To attack it is to attack this very foundation of international partnership. The significance of the Israeli embassy in particular cannot be overstated. Given the complex and often volatile geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, and Israel's central role within it, its diplomatic missions worldwide operate under a heightened state of alert. The Washington embassy is arguably one of its most important, situated in the capital of its closest and most powerful ally. It is a nerve center for intelligence sharing, for coordinating responses to regional crises, and for advocating Israeli positions on the global stage. The work conducted within its walls has direct implications for peace and security, not just for Israel, but for the wider region and indeed the world. Historically, Israeli diplomatic missions and personnel have been targets for extremist groups. This grim reality necessitates stringent security measures, a constant vigilance that becomes a way of life for those who serve. Barricades, security checks, and armed guards are a visible reminder of the potential threats. Yet, despite these precautions, the unthinkable happened. This incident will undoubtedly lead to a comprehensive review of security protocols, not only at the Israeli embassy, but likely at other diplomatic posts in Washington and beyond. The challenge is always to balance the need for openness and accessibility with the imperative of protection for those who work within. The symbolism of this attack is potent and deeply troubling. Targeting an embassy, especially one representing a nation like Israel, is a deliberate act designed to send a message, to intimidate, and to sow discord. It is an attempt to strike at the heart of a nation's ability to engage with the world. The choice of Washington, D.C. as the location adds another layer of gravity, occurring in a city that prides itself on being a center for global diplomacy and peaceful international engagement. The act aims to undermine this, to suggest that no place is safe, no dialogue secure from the reach of violence and hatred. The aftermath investigation and international implications. As of today, May 22, 2025, the investigation is in full swing, a collaborative effort involving the FBI, the Secret Service, local DC Metropolitan Police, and, of course, Israeli security agencies. The detained suspect is undergoing interrogation, and every aspect of his background is being meticulously scrutinized. Authorities are working around the clock to determine a motive. Was this the act of a deranged individual, a hate crime, or something more calculated, perhaps with connections to a terrorist organization? Until these questions are answered, a cloud of uncertainty and apprehension will hang heavy over the diplomatic community. The pressure to find answers is immense. The immediate diplomatic fallout has been one of shock and condemnation from capitals around the world. The U.S. president issued a strong statement, condemning the cowardly attack and reaffirming America's unwavering support for Israel's security and its right to conduct diplomacy safely. The Israeli Prime Minister spoke of a despicable act of terror, vowing that such violence would not deter Israel or its representatives. High-level communications between Washington and Jerusalem are ongoing, focusing on the investigation and the welfare of embassy staff. The incident serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of diplomatic protections in an increasingly turbulent world. The implications of this event are significant. It will inevitably lead to heightened security measures at diplomatic missions globally. It could also impact the already complex dynamics of Middle Eastern politics, potentially inflaming tensions depending on the identified motive and perpetrator. For the staff at the Israeli embassy, the psychological toll is immeasurable. Grief counseling and support services are being provided, but the sense of vulnerability will be difficult to overcome. The attack serves as a brutal reminder of the personal risks undertaken by diplomats and their families in service to their nations, even in cities far removed from active conflict zones. Looking ahead, the path is one of careful investigation, solemn remembrance, and a renewed commitment to protecting those who dedicate their lives to diplomacy. The coming days and weeks will be crucial in uncovering the full story behind this tragedy. The world watches, hoping for justice, for answers, and for a reaffirmation that such acts of violence against diplomatic personnel will not be tolerated. The memory of the fallen staff member will serve as a somber reminder of the price that can be paid in the pursuit of international relations, and the enduring need to safeguard those who bravely walk that path.